Eating disorders take everything from you: your joy, your friends, your family, your relationship with others, your happiness, your focus, and most of all, your identity. I honestly don't even consider myself as being Abby during that time because I wasn't. The eating disorder voices in my head were so big and loud that I couldn't hear anything else. Take a day off? Eat more than planned? Never could happen. No way. I struggled with my self-worth. I rooted my identity in running and food, and that was it. I felt as if no one loved me and that I didn't matter. I was so preoccupied with how much I weighed, and I never realized how much I had faded away. It was truly awful. I was so broken, yet God had a reason for all of this. Going through that horrible time shaped me into who I am today and gave me the opportunity to tell my story.
Hello and welcome to episode number 20 of the Blue Water Running Podcast. Our guest today is Abby VanderKooi, an incredibly accomplished runner and a recovered survivor of an eating disorder. According to the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, an estimated 9% of the U.S. population, or 28.8 million Americans, will have an eating disorder in their lifetime. 10,200 deaths each year are the direct result of an eating disorder. That's one death every 52 minutes. Disordered eating is unfortunately common in distance running, as athletes may struggle with body image or the belief that lighter body weight makes them faster. Female athletes are twice as likely to engage in eating disorder behavior than male athletes. However, both men and women participating in weight-dependent sports report using compensatory behaviors. In other words, they change their behaviors to adjust their weight. Eating disorders may be tough to detect among athletes due in part to their secretiveness, the stigma that surrounds the disorders, and the fact that their symptoms may not be visible. Abby is a junior at Grand Valley State University with cross-country PRs of 17:43 for 5K and 20:43 for 6K, and track PRs of 16:46 in the 5K and 34:35 for the 10K. Abby was a cross-country state champion for Muskegon Western Michigan Christian High School all 4 years of high school. Yes, that's right, 4 years in a row, with a 5K best of 16:48. And on the track had bests of 10:29 in the 3200, 4:57 in the 1600, and she placed third in the nation at the 2018 Foot Locker National Cross Country Meet. However, despite her amazing successes, Abby would tell you the most important thing now in life isn't running. It's being a healthy, balanced person with running as part of your life. She is an outspoken advocate for transparency surrounding the stigma of eating disorders and recovery for people who struggle with the same issues, particularly through her Instagram account, which is Running on Ice Cream. Well, welcome to the Blue Water Running Podcast, Abby, and thank you so much for being willing to share your incredible story with us. It's so important, and I'm sure that it can be a very difficult subject to discuss, but so many people need to hear it and be aware, and I am so grateful that you are here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It is my honor and pleasure. So we're going to start with some walking back into when you first began to struggle. So walk us through what you're comfortable with as far as how did your eating disorder progress? What were some of the things that you were struggling with, how you went through treatment, and then eventually came out the other side with hope and a new beginning?
So it all started like going into the summer of my 8th grade year. I remember sitting outside on like a bench that we have right by our house, and I had just finished like a chocolate brownie ice cream cone and a waffle cone. I was like, oh, that was so good. But then I just like kind of started to feel bad about myself all of a sudden. And my 2 previous older sisters had eating disorders in the past. So like the thoughts had already like slightly been implanted in my head a little bit. And so I had thoughts before too. But so I was like, I don't feel so good about myself. So I was like, I'm going to go weigh myself. So I went inside and I weighed myself, and it read 105. And for me, that was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life, which given that was a totally normal, healthy weight for my age and height, but it was just the heaviest I'd ever been. And I kind of freaked out. And from that day on, I decided I was like, I need to restrict what I eat, and I just need to exercise more. So from that point on, I started restricting my food, limiting my dessert, especially trying to never let myself snack on any food. Like I would eat lunch and then make sure I don't eat anything until dinner, no matter how hungry I was. And given in that time, I would burn like so many calories at soccer practice, running, like it was not good. Um, I would exercise ridiculous amounts. Mine was definitely more an exercise addiction, I would say, coupled with like really, really bad like disordered eating and restricting food. So I would like during volleyball, I played volleyball in the fall, basketball in the winter, soccer in the spring, and I would go to those practices and then I would go home and I would come home and I would run again. And then I would go run with my dog or walk with my dog, but that often was me just running with him in the woods. I would run laps at school during break. I would work out for like an hour at night. My whole life was literally just exercising. I would purposely pace everywhere I went, trying to get extra steps. And honestly, a big root of my eating disorder too was my watch, and just trying to get more steps. And I still have to be a little bit cautious with that with me, just because it can still be a little bit toxic. And yeah, I would get up to like 60,000 steps a day. It was ridiculous. I really wasn't even human. I was more just a machine, and I only cared about myself and moving my body and burning calories. I don't know how I didn't just break down with injury. Like said, it was just ridiculous. And then after my 8th grade year of high school, on that Memorial Day, I was at my cousin's open house, and I remember. So my parents weighed me on Monday nights, because they would weigh me to make sure I wasn't losing ridiculous amounts of weight. So for me, Mondays were like, okay, this is the only day of the week that I can like eat food really. And then I remember at the open house, like I ate like 2 or 3 pieces of cake, and I ate so much food, and mainly I drank so much water because I need to gain water weight. And I remember just being so uncomfortable and in so much pain. And my cousins were going to go out and play kick the can. And I love that game. Like I was like, oh, I would love to play with you, but I remember being in so much pain I could like barely move. So I remember just all of a sudden like going to my mom right when we were leaving. And I remember just breaking down and just crying. I was like, Mom, I can't do this anymore. Like this is ridiculous. Like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want you to weigh me. I don't want to restrict my food. I don't want to feel like I constantly have to move and exercise. Um, and then from that day on, I did have a mindset shift, of like, yep, I need to change. This is not okay. But then I mean, it was not all sunshine and rainbows after that, because it's still, yes, I knew that I needed to change, but did I really act on it a whole bunch? Not a ton. I honestly feel like I did not start making really big changes until my sophomore year of high school, because it took me, and then like my junior year is when I finally started like gaining weight back. Because like freshman year, I don't know, like adjusting to high school and everything, it was really hard for me. And I didn't listen to my coach very much with my mileage. I was still running way too much. Um, but I wasn't doing the excessive pacing. Like I was slowly chipping away at all the ridiculous things I did, because it was really deep. Like there were layers and layers and layers. Um, but I really just had to completely like rewire my brain and be like, no, it's not normal to run around the school when you go to the bathroom, or oh, it's not normal to only think you can eat this one kind of yogurt and anything else will poison you. So what I did then too is I went to a counselor, and I didn't love my counselor, but she wasn't awful. Honestly, she kind of scared me more, but it was good. It was definitely very good for me to go to counseling. I would definitely advise anyone with any sort of eating disorder, even if you don't have anything like that, just counseling is just good. And I prayed a lot, a lot, a lot. I don't know how anyone does it out there without God. Like that was a big thing. And because I remember the one verse, I don't even know. Um, it's something in Corinthians, I think, like whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God. So to me, it was like, okay, like when I don't want to eat this brownie or when I don't want to eat this extra piece of meat, like it's like, nope, I can glorify God when by just helping my body become more healthy. My mom also helped me through it a lot. She was really good. I felt like with eating disorders and just dealing with them and stuff. Um, but yeah, and then by the time I hit my junior year, I was significantly healthier. Even by, I'd say like halfway through my sophomore year, I was finally like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit more like normal Abby. And then by junior year, I had gotten a lot out of the toxic thing, like toxic thoughts and patterns and stuff. And then it was more becoming just like more of a normal human being again, then I felt like. And honestly, getting a boyfriend then kind of helped me, because it kind of made me like, okay, like I want to be normal for someone else. Um, but yeah, that was just it was hard. It took a long time. But yeah, that's pretty much my story, I would say.
Do you think that your struggles were driven by the way you felt that you looked, like a body image issue? Or did you feel it hinged more on a performance based concern, such as if I'm lighter, I'll run faster?
Um, I feel like yes and no. Like, yes, it did all start when like I looked at when like I felt fat or stuff, and that was not true. It was a lie. And because I thought I weighed too much and stuff. But I also never really, when I was doing this, my goal wasn't really ever to like be skinnier or stuff. I really wasn't that super big into running when all this started. Um, but it was more just kind of like I really don't know what drove it. I think just like even just like the rebellion of wanting to just like be different, or just like I don't know, just be as light as like even like a competition with myself. Um, and because like my eighth grade year, I did cross country in Fremont, but I also was doing volleyball. And honestly, my heart was a little bit more in volleyball. Um, but then I think more it progressed like freshman year of high school, then it was definitely a little bit more body image, like lighter is faster. Cause even like that's like when I went to Foot Locker and stuff. And now like looking back at pictures of that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I never realized how bad I looked, and how skinny I was and stuff, and really how scary skinny I was. But I think I did really take pride in knowing that like I am thin and I thought it would make me fast. And the biggest thing was gaining weight just sounded terrifying. Like it sounded like if I gained weight, like I'd become slow. Like I would, oh my goodness, I'm going to puberty. Oh my goodness, I might get boobs. I might have my period. Like I could never have that. Like I wouldn't want that. Um, so it's like it kind of was. It was yeah. I'd say it was probably a little bit of both, and even just competing with myself. Yeah.
Did you feel like you had obsessive thoughts? I've read
Oh,
that a lot of athletes and people who are not athletes but just struggle with eating disorders, it's not even what anyone else places upon them. It's their own obsessive thoughts that they cannot drown out.
oh, 100%. And even just like feeling like you're drowning in your brain a little bit, like to the point, like just like the things I would do, like I wanted to not do them, but I couldn't not do them. Like it's really crazy how your eating disorder just truly takes over your brain. Cause like, you know that like, oh, I shouldn't do this. But your eating disorder is like, heck no, you're doing what I tell you to do. So it's scary and it's hard.
Right. And I think that's really important for people who are struggling with that to know that it may be something that you can't do on your own. You might need professional help.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not your fault. It's okay to say,
Yeah.
I can't stop these thoughts. It's a
Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
illness and you need help. Yeah.
And that's even
Um,
like when like like
no, you're
friends and
right. You're right.
family are important there too. Like I am thankful and I'm so lucky that my friends, like especially like Maddie and Kyla Wiersma, they stayed with me throughout all of it. And that to me has always been like, wow, that's truly crazy that they like dealt with me when I was literally not even Abby. And now we can still come out the other side and still be really good friends.
Right. Well, they knew you for who you were, and that's important to have people who
Yeah.
know the real
Hmm.
you. Yeah. So there's often a specific way that people perceive that runners should look. So the quote, runner's body. So you hear a lot, they look like a runner because there's this stereotype of how a runner should look. But if you were to look around at any race, you would see a variety of heights, weights, body composition, and so on. So do you feel like social media or the internet has contributed to that constant comparison that we all have to look like a stereotypical professional marathoner?
Yeah, I definitely think that there is like a stereotypical runner that does kind of just circle around social media, and that you're quote unquote supposed to look like according to social media. But I also think that social media can sometimes help to try to show like the other side too. Like anyone can be a runner. I think it even just depends a lot on who you follow and how, like, so I have it a lot of times. If I feel like, wow, this person makes me really feel bad about myself, like it's like just unfollow them. Like
Right.
all this comparison trap comparison game, like it's not worth it. But yeah, I definitely think that social media, yeah, it can make it harder. And even just like going to college, like I sometimes, this is one thing I really struggle with too, is like I still really struggle with the body image aspect. Cause even just cause like I am like a slightly bigger runner. I mean, like I don't, yeah, I mean like my arms, like I have strong arms and legs, but like mine never looked toned in the pictures like a lot of other people's do. And like I might have abs, but they don't necessarily look toned or anything. Cause like my genes aren't made for that. Like that's just, that's a lot of genetics. I have other girls on my team who don't lift nearly as much as me or anything like that, and they just have a six pack and they look toned because that's their genes. So I think social media can make it worse. But I also think it sometimes can make it better because you also can see like, oh, that person's a runner too, and they're a little bit bigger. Oh, this person's a runner, they're really short. Or, oh, they're really tall. Um, I just think the biggest thing is you have to really be careful with who you follow. And the comparison trap is just, it goes crazy online. And I struggle with that too. And even like, it's not just body image. I mean, it can be times too, or all that kind of stuff. So it's like the biggest thing I would say is like you just got to not follow those kind of people. And also just everyone's so different and you don't need to look like a runner to be a runner. Um, but yeah, that can be hard, and you just gotta embrace yourself and not compare. And I still work on that too. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's a great segue into what I want to talk about next, because you mentioned puberty and your senior year, you've said that you started developing more as a woman and then you got slower. And that was hard because you had to adjust to running slower because your body is different. So I want to just say to our listeners, girls, this is normal. As your body grows, you are going to gain weight. Your weight distribution will change. You might get taller. And what you did easily as a younger girl can feel a lot harder. And there are so many studies out there regarding female runners during puberty and that temporary decline of performance that can happen. But that is normal. Will it happen to you? Not necessarily. But if it does, it will even out. You'll be healthier on the other side. And I have seen this time and time again. The same thing happened to me my senior year, my daughter, her junior year. Many other runners have experienced something similar. And we just expect that everything will stay the same and our performance trajectory will just keep increasing. And no one ever said to me, hey, nothing's wrong with you. You're just growing. So I wanted to read this research really quickly just for our listeners. And you can kind of give your thoughts after I'm done and I'll ask you what you think. But I found this article, and I'll link it in the show notes, but it said, unfortunately, in an attempt to control the negative effects of puberty on athletic performance, some female runners engage in behaviors that cause permanent issues. 6% of non-athletic girls suffer from eating disorders, and that number increases to 20% among girls who participate in sports like cross country, where low body fat is emphasized. There is an extra 10% increase in athletic girls who are already predisposed to tendencies of eating disorders. And during puberty, girls experience an increase in their percentage of body fat. So before puberty, 40 to 60%, this breaks my heart, of elementary school girls expressed a desire to lose weight. They have not even hit puberty yet, and they're already feeling like they need to lose weight. And that's more than half. Moving into adolescence, 35 to 57% of high school girls admit to crash dieting, self-induced vomiting, skipping meals. And then we get into those really serious effects of long-term eating disorders, such as osteoporosis, muscle loss, weakness, risk of heart failure. So this research is showing us girls are already prone to eating disorders after puberty without that added increase of being athletic. So that added pressure of remaining thin to increase your performance in a sport like cross country can only increase your risk of an eating disorder. And then you add that with, oh, I'm not running as well because I'm hitting puberty and my body's doing something new. That can really lead girls to blame their weight and their body fat, which is naturally gained as they grow. And then they run into that danger of trying to run more, thinking they need to, without taking in enough calories for their growing body. So a lot of doctors have warned that the changes of puberty can be really dangerous to a female runner if you're not prepared for what's coming. So let me say this again, girls, if you want to be healthy for the rest of your life, if you want to have kids, if you want to have bones that don't break prematurely, if you want to make memories and be a part of your life, you cannot sacrifice your health to lose weight thinking that you will run faster.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's yeah. That I'm actually really, really passionate about this kind of stuff. And I'm studying nursing currently, but I kind of want to figure out how I could do something like this with it, because this is just something that is not talked about nearly enough. Because like females, so especially like me, like I was terrified of puberty. I didn't want to gain weight. Like I didn't know what it would be like. Yeah, I thought I would get slower and stuff. And like in hindsight, oh my goodness, if I would have just embraced it, I would have saved myself so much trouble, because now I constantly struggle with injuries and stuff. And my bone mass is probably not fantastic and stuff. And like, I'm worried about infertility and all that kind of stuff. And that's all purely because I was scared of puberty and instead developed an eating disorder. And it just makes matters worse and worse and worse. And it's just like, wow, like puberty, it's so important to get a normal period. Like I didn't get mine until this past November. I did not get a normal cycle until I was 18. Like, that is not normal and that is not okay. Given though, I'm incredibly thankful I have a normal cycle and everything because that's so important. But yeah, I cannot stress how much, like, yeah, how important it is to just worry about your health. Like your times will come and go, but
Mm-hmm.
your health, this is what lasts for the rest of your life. And yeah, like if you want to have kids, if you want to have a family, if you want to not struggle with osteoporosis, if you want to just honestly just be able to live a happy and healthy life outside of being a runner, like you just got to embrace the puberty. And I always thought, I was like, oh, but I can just be that 1%, that 1% that just like is just different. That just it just doesn't matter. No, that's not true. Like just embrace it. It's only going to take a little while because after you go through puberty, yeah, you might get slower for a hot second, but then you'll build your bone mass and then you will come back even faster and even stronger. You're going to gain your muscle and you're going to be in your woman body and you will get faster, you will get stronger. But if you keep pushing it off, it's going to create so many problems that will just continue to haunt you for a long time. And I can speak from experience. Like those problems haunt me all the time. I mean, like I still struggle with injury and stuff, and it's purely because I pushed off puberty and I didn't embrace it.
Yeah. And that's
So,
not to scare
mhm.
everyone into thinking, oh, when you hit puberty, you're going to be a terrible runner.
No,
That's not
no,
it at
not
all.
not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. It's just
It just,
be realistic about the things that your body needs
mhm.
and just give it time and let it do what it's naturally made to do. And that it is kind of a double-edged sword because the opposite is actually true for most boys. As they go through puberty, they actually get stronger and faster, which seems kind of cruel when you compare it to what girls go through. But we're all different. And like you said, embrace your body, let it do its thing. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and yeah, that's definitely a thing. Yeah, like in the whole getting slower too. Like you don't know because I've also met some other girls who have gone through puberty and stuff, and they didn't get slower.
Right.
So like, yeah, it's completely dependent on the person, completely dependent on the body. Um,
Yep.
yeah, you gotta trust the process, trust your body, fuel it well, sleep well, and then just try to enjoy it. Like it is a cool thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's pretty amazing
yeah.
what your body can do. So,
Oh, for sure.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned a period. Now, if you're a male listener, don't turn it off because you probably have a female in your life. If you have a wife or a girlfriend or you want one day, I don't know. You need to be aware of this. If you have daughters, because people are afraid to talk about it, but it's a completely normal human thing. And without them, you can't have children. And without them, you're not healthy. So if you aren't getting a period and you've ruled out other health factors, because maybe there are some and you just don't know, chances are you just don't weigh enough. So you talk about how you got back to a healthy weight, and therefore you were able to have a normal period. When I was a teenager, we used to call that amenorrhea, but researchers have done a lot of study into that and now have rephrased it as they call it REDS, which is relative energy deficiency. So it's kind of a 3-part syndrome. It's poor health with declining athletic performance, and it's because athletes don't get enough fuel through their food to support the energy demands of their daily lives, and then also when they're training on top of that. So, like I said, male listeners, REDS is a subset of what they call the female triad. So 3 parts: disordered eating, irregular periods, and bone loss. But REDS can affect athletes of any gender and ability level. You can have disordered eating and bone loss and be overtraining as a male. So it's not just girls that need to be aware of, having an unhealthy approach to running. So I wanted to just read some warning signs if you weren't sure. If you have someone in your life and you're like, gosh, this is something maybe they're struggling with. Disrupted menstruation or low testosterone in men. Your bone health has an increased risk of stress fractures. You can get early onset osteoporosis. You probably are getting sick more often because your immunity is compromised. More infections, more colds. Your metabolism, your body is converting your food into energy more slowly to hang on to the calories that you're not putting in it enough. Your heart, you can get low heart rate, dizziness. You can actually do damage to your heart. And then obviously your psychological health is not going to be good, like really moody, depressed, anxious, any of those things that go along with just unhealthy thoughts. So a lot of kids hear these things. They know, like, we're in an age of science and technology where this information is readily available, but a lot of people think that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to do it anyway. So what would you tell a runner who would look at your success and look at your time, hear your story, know that you were struggling with this eating disorder and your body image issues and say, well, she still ran really fast, probably faster than me, and she wasn't really even healthy. And then use that to justify, well, I can restrict my calories or I can maintain my lower weight and I can race fast.
Yeah, I do struggle with that a little bit. It almost actually makes me mad at myself that it's like, oh, like it looks like everything was so great because like, oh, it's fast and everything. But at the end of the day, I guess really I can only say it wasn't worth it. Like I wish I would have much if I could take those years back and instead be healthy in college and have like a normal fast progression. I still don't know what I'll do in college, but just because it not only took like an emotional and physical toll on me, but like it mentally took a toll on me. It took a toll on my family. It took a toll on my friends, and like it hurt a lot of relationships around me. And to me, it's like all the stress and anxiety and just harm that it caused was not worth the fast times. And also, even if you think that you're the 1% that isn't going to do it, I did too. It doesn't work. Yeah, it's not. You're not as unique as you think you are. And yeah, it just I wish so many times I could have never gone through my eating disorder, but that's not possible. But now hopefully I can help other people not go through the same thing. And now I deal with a lot of frustrating injuries and stuff because I ran all those fast times in a really unhealthy body.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I might have done that, but all I was technically doing was digging a hole deeper and deeper that I've slowly had to climb back out of. I'm still trying to make up for the damage that I did to my body. So yes, running fast was fun. Foot Locker was really cool. I really like that. I'm thankful for the opportunities I have, but how I got there was incredibly unhealthy, and now it has only bit me in the butt for the last few years. And I feel like I'm slowly like building my base again now, and like I'm running some of the most mileage I have ever since then, currently this summer. So that's been cool, but like it's literally taken I'm a junior going into college. It's taken like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I would have rather have been slower in high school and then progressed more into college and stayed healthy. So overall, like a healthy body is a fast, confident body. Like you don't even if you're not as fast as you want to, like even if it's not as fast as you want to be, having an eating disorder, yeah, it might make you faster for a few months, maybe a year, but then you will eventually slow down because your body's going to start breaking down on you. That's all there is to it. You cannot maintain that for as long as you need to, or else you're going to struggle with infertility later. Like it's just, to me, it's the biggest thing I could say. It's just not, it's not worth it. The harm you'll do to your family, your friends, your body. Yeah. And it's hard because you see tons and tons of people, even a lot of I think it's especially prevalent in high school. I just feel like, even just with all the pressure, I always felt a lot of pressure in high school to perform. And it just seems like everyone you see like winning Nike Nationals or winning like Foot Locker, it's like, wow, they're all so skinny. And then often, if you notice, you often don't hear of them again ever or for a long time, just because a lot of them most likely break or struggle with injury because you can't maintain that.
Right. They don't run again. You don't see them for a while. You're absolutely right. Yep. Do you think that there's too much emphasis on being fast too soon in your career?
Yeah, 100%. I think like even I kind of just touch on that a little bit now, like the fact that there is so much like emphasis, I feel like especially in high school, is just like to be fast, to do this. For goodness sakes, we are 14 to 18-year-olds. Like when I was a freshman, I was literally a 14-year-old. And it's just like you have mile split, you have all these other things that it's like, oh, they're pressuring you, they're interviewing you here. And it's just, to me, it's like that only makes it worse. Like I honestly, someday with my kids, I would love to not have them do running until for surely high school. Like to me, it's like, no, like be a kid, do 3 sports. Like don't just run. Like I wish I wouldn't have just ran in high school. I wish I would have done more because that helps you be less injury prone. I wish I would have done basketball and volleyball. Well, maybe not volleyball, but for surely basketball or swimming in high school. Yeah, so there's a few standouts in high school that can manage to take like all the pressure and to increase the fast times and stuff. But in general, honestly, all that like the outside pressure does, and especially like for me, it just fed my eating disorder. Because it's like, oh, everyone else like, oh, they're so supportive of this. Oh, but they don't see that I am literally shrinking in body size. I mean, I am shrinking, like just awful. And that all the outside voices definitely only made it worse. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword again. You've got all of this technology, the internet, social media. So there's so much information available. So the sport can really grow, and you can see the change in times and how much faster people are because the sport has progressed. But at the other end, it's like a lot of pressure, a lot of comparison. I mean, there was no athletic.net when I was running, so you couldn't look up anyone's time. You just saw them at a meet, raced them, and bye. That was it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I can
And I do
definitely.
have to say a lot of high schoolers now are also just training too hard in general. Like a lot of the stuff they do is like, nope, save that for college. Like you don't need to be doubling. I mean, like maybe a little bit in high school when like you're a senior, but like, even like lifting, like all that kind of stuff. To me, it's like you're only in high school for 4 years, and just overdoing it and all the extra added pressure it just doesn't help. It only sets you up for not necessarily failure in college, but you might end up being a little bit burnt out when you
Yeah.
get there, and that's or overtrained, and that's just not good.
Yeah. I would always say it's better to be undertrained
Mhm.
than overtrained. And in college, your body is usually done growing. So it's a little more reasonable to ask it to respond to some added stressors like weight training or upping your mileage. But in high school, if your bones are growing or your muscles are growing, that can actually be more detrimental. It just depends on if you're doing it
Mhm.
safely and with the right mindset and approach. So good advice. So I've heard the phrase, my mind doesn't control me, I control my mind. So, what would you say is helpful advice to others who might be struggling with their body image? Maybe they're thinking, thoughts of self harm or deprecation. What would you say to them to help them learn how to rein in those thoughts? Or what advice do you have for them to refocus and be able to walk away from the mirror and kind of flip the narrative?
Yeah, so like I said previously, I still struggle a lot with body image, and confidence. I'm very bad at those two things. And I was kind of complaining to my boyfriend about this once, like, ugh, it's so frustrating to me that like I'm doing so much better. Like with my eating disorder, I really feel like I'm pretty much recovered, just like from the eating aspect, from the exercise addiction aspect. But I was like, but why do I still have so many bad body image thoughts? And he was like, Abby, it's normal to have these thoughts. And he was like, and you can't help it that you're having these thoughts. Like that's just what's going to happen, at least for a little while. And he says the difference though is how you act on them. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
take those thoughts and do you acknowledge them and you're like, oh yeah, I am fat, like that's true? Or do you got to look at them and be like, no, that's a lie, that is not true. Like, I am strong, I am confident, I am capable to do hard work, and that is, my body image thoughts are a lie. So that honestly has helped me a lot. Like if I ever am having a bad body image day, I'm like, wow, I look so bad in this shirt, or wow, I don't like my stomach today. It's like, no, that is not true. Like your body does so much for you. Your body, like I am very strong. I don't really care what those thoughts say. And so I just pretty much take those thoughts, be like, okay, that's a lie, and then move on. And that has literally helped so much. Just like being like, oh yeah, these thoughts, like you're just not true. So I'm not gonna give you that power over me.
Right.
And yeah, that has helped me a lot personally.
So I know at your NCAA track championship, you had some disappointment. You weren't able to finish your race. And as you've said, it's okay to think those things that are disappointing or to feel human emotions, to be sad, to be upset. So how do you regroup from that and then refocus on moving on and doing your next best thing without dwelling on the negative?
Yeah, so this has been tough. I'm not gonna lie. The after outdoor season, it was really hard just because I knew going into that race, I was as fit as I'd probably ever been. I was ready to go out there and maybe get all American. And I was really well trained. But the biggest thing was I literally just had to be like, okay, that wasn't God's plan for me. I don't know why. I don't agree with that. Like I don't know what you're doing, God. Um, and it really, really hurt. But I just had to acknowledge, like, yep, God's plan was different than mine, and I had to be okay with that. And I also tried really hard to look at the positives. Like, I was thankful that I made it to nationals in the first place. Like, that's really cool. I had one of the most fun training blocks I ever had. Training for the 10K was just something I never done before. It was really, really hard, but it was really cool. And yeah, so that was just fun. And I also was just thankful for my teammates who supported me and my wonderful coaches, because I was like, yep, that was really hard. but I was just thankful that they stood with me and they're like, you know what, it's okay. And I remember my coach even texted me. He was like, hey, I know this isn't how you wanted it to end, but like you got to remember that you had like a fantastic like building time and building season. Nationals and all is also again in there. No, my Nationals is also there again in 2 years. So I'm hoping to go back there and like redeem myself. Yeah, I see the bigger things. I was like, you know what? It wasn't God's plan. I'm trying to look at the positives, and I also just try to remember at the end of the day, I'm just running around in circles. It really doesn't matter that much. Like it's easy just to put so much emphasis on it, but it's like, you know what? It is just running. It doesn't actually matter that much. So
And
yeah, I
everybody
just kind
has a
of
bad
tried.
race.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that I kind of got some food poisoning, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
know.
Well, my son runs for Spring Arbor University and he got food poisoning at like 2 a.m. before their conference meet. And that was their national qualifier. And so he didn't get
Oh,
to go. And they were running in British Columbia, or actually, no, it was Washington, Vancouver, Washington. And they were going to take a day trip to like Hayward Field and all this stuff. So he was so bummed. But,
uh-huh.
it gives you that hunger for the next time. Like nothing you can do about it. It's okay to feel sad.
Yeah,
It's okay to
yeah.
be disappointed, but, you know, it's okay to move on to and be ready for the next thing. So, well, speaking of your college teammates and your coach, you mentioned that when you were going through your recruitment process and your college visits, that since you were recovering from an eating disorder as an athlete, you really needed to find a collegiate team that had a healthy relationship with food. And you mentioned that GVSU, quote, to celebrate food and not fear it. um,
Hmm.
what are some red flags that you would say, just from your perspective, to look for if a student was visiting a collegiate running program, or some good signs that it is a healthy place to be?
Okay, so some like red flags I would say is how the team interacts with like the food, fueling, and meals. So some of the places I went to, like you normally eat with the team at least, or a few members of the team, and some of them I just noticed like there's nothing wrong with like a salad or anything like that, but I just noticed like almost all of them just like ate like salads and veggies and like no like not much meat, not many carbs, and I was like, oh my, like I can't do that. And then like they also just kind of seemed like tense around mealtime, like eyeing other people's plates and stuff, almost even like to compare themselves to them. And I was like, oh, this is not okay. Um, and I could just like sense some like underlying tension on some of the teams. That's the biggest thing too, because you want to go to a team where you feel like everyone just kind of works well together and you feel like the team just has good team camaraderie. And I felt so at Grand Valley, I felt like the team just seemed like just a good team. And I had a few people there that on my visit I felt like I clicked with like right away. I was like, oh, I really like them. I could be really good friends with them. And I felt like, so because we got Olive Garden on my visit, I remember that. And I remember like everyone ate like actual meals. I remember being like, wow, like these are like this is a team that likes to eat. And that to me was just cool. That it's like, yeah, like we're not afraid of food. And even when you look, even simple things like, and not to like judge people or like stereotype people, but even just like, yeah, I would kind of look at the team and be like, okay, do they look super, super, super skinny? Because even like for my personal like confidence, body image stuff, I don't think I could be in a team with a team that all looks so, so, so skinny. Because I'd be like, oh, should I look like that? And like Grand Valley's team, I just always, and I still take pride in it now. Like our team all just looks so strong. Like we're
Mhm.
not afraid to lift. We're not afraid to eat. If we're gonna go out, yeah, we're gonna go out and have burgers. We're gonna go get ice cream after practice. Like we're willing to eat and have fun, but also still work really stinking hard in practice and run some really fast times. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I just felt like Grand Valley had a great balance. Yeah, and I would just make sure like for tension and food and just I don't just yeah, you just kind of just gotta read the room a little bit with it and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I will say from my experience, some of the reason that I run is so I can eat whatever I want. And that's not
Uh-huh.
necessarily that you have to run to eat whatever you want, but you're thinking, oh, well, it's just an extra benefit.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yep. So you've also mentioned about a team sports psychologist. So what kind of things would a school sports psychologist help you work on? I never had one, so I'm just curious as to what that's all about. And then, would you think that having access to one should be perhaps a deciding factor when someone is picking a collegiate program?
Yeah, so we work on mainly like mindset stuff. So our team sports psychologist is a guy named Derek. He actually ran at Grand Valley quite a few years ago. And now I honestly don't really know where he lives. I thought he told me he lived in like Montana. And then one of the days I randomly saw him at a track meet and I was like, what? So, but he's great. I love him. Like he is like the biggest hype man ever. He's hilarious. Um, but so then we will like write out. So if we know we have a race coming up, we will plan the race out and we'll start out like a few weeks out. I have like this list of stuff I need to read to myself, like 3 times a day or something, or more if I want, or less. But you don't want to like ruminate on it. Like make sure you have a good balance. And there'll be like a section that's like motivational, like I can do this, or I'm capable, I'm confident, I'm strong. And then there'll be supportive, that which is like I have run the miles, I put in the hard work. Like think about some of the big workouts I've done, and then encouraging. That might even just be like, for me, sometimes encouraging is like focus on your arms, or like you're almost there, like this much farther to go. So I'll read those over and stuff like a few weeks out, and then the closer we get to the race, we'll like make up like an actual game plan for the race. And especially with a 10K, we would break it down into sections. So like first bit of the race in the 10K, like you're gonna need just like cues there to keep your form good. So like focus on your arms, like what would I say? Like beneath, below, breathe. So like have my feet land below me. It's like breathe in and out, keep my elbows on my sides. And then in the middle of the race, it would be like, okay, attack, like, or targets. Like you would like set your eyes on someone and then like move up and move around quickly. And then the end of the race, it's like, okay, you're driving your arms like explosive, like every footstep, you got to like drive your legs up and stuff. And then even just like kick, like you have done all this work to get here. So it's like a lot of like, just a lot of just like reading stuff over and even just like believing the process, trusting in it. And I did find it very helpful, but that's also because I suck at confidence. I don't know why. Even like in high school, I would get so ridiculously nervous for every single race. Even if I knew I was going to win it by like literally 2.5, 3 minutes sometimes, I was still probably one of the most nervous people on that line or person on that line. So it's been very good for me. And I honestly, over the summer, I don't really do as much of it because it does take a lot of work just like to like read it over and just like constantly be thinking. Like, because pretty much, like, if you have a bad thought during a run, you gotta be like, nope, that's not true. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just want to complain. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it.
Yep, it's true.
So when I get back to school now, especially as we're coming closer to racing now, I'm like, okay, I need to get back into the whole mindset stuff because it makes a big difference for me in racing. Right. And then I don't know if it technically should be like a deciding factor if you're going to go to a school or not. Like for me, the coaches, the teammates, and like, do they have the program you want? That should be like the bigger thing, but this is definitely a plus. Like I've loved having a sports psychologist and a lot of my teammates use them too. So yeah, like if like it's definitely a pro. But I wouldn't have it be like oh my goodness, I need to go here because they have one, because even if our school doesn't have one, you could probably still find one if you really needed it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would look for a school with one. I'm really happy Grand Valley has one for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus. I've been reading about some of the Olympic runners, and they were talking about a few of them who have a mantra that they repeat. So something that gives them something to focus on positively. And then a lot of them say that one of the factors in finding more success was seeking out a sports psychologist just to help them overcome their negative thoughts or their anxiety or fear of racing. So all good things. Yes. Okay. Well, we've had a really serious conversation. It's been amazing. You've given us so much just insight and good advice and just a really good perspective into what you've gone through and ways to improve and come out and be a better person after those things. So now we're just going to ask you some fun stuff. So we'll take it down a notch from the serious. So let's start with, what is your favorite TV show or movie, or both, if you want to tell us both?
I don't really think I have a favorite movie. I don't know. I really like the Marvel movies. Like those are good. I like the Titanic, or a good old chick flick. But TV shows, I really like Stranger Things, like a lot. They're coming out with a new season soon, and I can't wait. I enjoy Survivor, and I really like Breaking Bad too. Those are probably my top favorites.
Okay. I do not watch Stranger Things because it kind of scares me, but my kids do, my two
Yeah.
teenagers and my husband and my sister-in-law and my brother watch it as well. And so they've talked about it after each episode. And the last season where I've seen clips, but there's a couple
Uh-huh.
people who got like all their bones broken. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
my sister-in-law phrased it snap crackle pop. So now anytime we talk about Stranger Things, I'm like, well, if there's any snap crackling and popping this season, I cannot I cannot watch it. So
Uh-huh.
but it is a very intriguing concept. So all right. So your favorite hobby or free time activity?
I really like to bake. Like I'm a big baker. That's fun. I'm trying to get better at cooking. I'm getting a little better. I just enjoy music too in general, just like singing or the piano. And then I really like just spending time outside, just hiking, just being outdoors, being on the water, like tubing and skiing. And then spending times with, like my friends, my family, boyfriend, going out for ice cream. I mean, who can say no to that?
Right. I saw you made calzones the other night. That's one of my specialties. So
Yes.
I was impressed.
They were so good. Me and my boyfriend are trying to get better at making pizzas, and we are coming. They are getting pretty good.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Calzones is one of my kids' favorite things to make or to have me make, I should say. They do nothing.
Uh-huh.
But I will say I cheat because I don't make my own dough. I buy freezer pizza dough and then I just let it
Yep, yep.
defrost. And yeah, I mean, I know how to make my own, but sometimes you just,
But it
got
just
to
yeah, it takes a little while.
yeah, got to take a shortcut. Okay. So I know you love ice cream. So what is your favorite treat besides ice cream?
Probably pie. I love pie, like a lot. Like strawberry pie or just like a baked pie or peanut butter pie. I also enjoy like a really good gooey brownie or like strawberry shortcake.
Hmm.
I pretty much will eat any dessert.
It sounds good. Okay, so you're a big ice cream fan. I mean, your ice cream is in your love of ice cream, I should say, is in your
Uh-huh.
Instagram handle. So, what is your favorite thing to put on ice cream, like a topping?
Ooh, I think probably brownie bites or just whipped cream, like Cool Whip. I could eat
Mm-hmm.
that stuff like by the tub.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really like brownie bites. Or now, like if you go to like a froyo place, a lot of times they have like cheesecake bites. Oh my goodness,
Mm.
those are good.
Yeah, that does sound good. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I think Michigan Pothole. I don't even know what brand it is. It's hard to get. You can't ever get it in the stores. You have to get it from an ice cream place. And Michigan Pothole is really good.
I think is that Ashby ice cream?
I
I think
think
it
it
is
is.
because we have a place here where I live, and they serve Ashby ice cream and they have it in their case. So,
Oh,
yep.
yum.
If you're near Armada, the
That sounds
creamery,
so
they've got
good.
it. And
Yum.
then, do you have a favorite restaurant?
Okay, so I think if I said like fast food, then it would probably be just like I'm this is so it's not even really fast food, I guess, but probably like Tropical Smoothie or Panera. But
Mm,
those are both like really expensive. If not Culver's, Culver's is good.
hmm.
Um, and then a sit down, there's a place called Licari's in Allendale, well, I guess Hudsonville. And they have like apparently like the best pizza in Michigan. And me and my boyfriend went and tried it like a few months ago, and oh my goodness, this is why I've been on our pizza kit because it's so good.
They've
And yes, I
inspired
do.
you.
Yes, that place is really good. And then it's like a chain restaurant, probably like Texas Roadhouse. I really like Texas Roadhouse.
Okay, so I didn't send you this question, but I'm curious just because I like to know about people. What is your favorite artist as far as singer, songwriter, or band, if you have a band?
Oh, so I will listen to like literally any music. Like it's slightly ridiculous how different my music is, but like if I'm working out, I really like NF or honestly like AJR isn't bad. Panic by the Disco. I don't even know if I said that right.
Yep.
I'm so bad at like artist names. Um but I also really like sad songs. I really like Dean Lewis, Louis Capaldi, Lauren Spencer Smith. She is phenomenal. I love her. Yeah, but then like when I study, I love to listen to like soundtracks or just like Christian like instrumental music. And
Hmm.
you said I listen to pretty much any Christian artist too. I love that like the Afters, they're really good. Yeah, I have stumbled across this guy named Livingston just like a few like or a month and a half ago or something, and his music's really fun too.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I listen to so much different music. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really hard to pick one. If someone asked me that, I'd be like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, just look through my phone.
I'd say my biggest one right now is probably NF though, which is funny because I would have never expect like NF and Lauren Spencer Smith. Those would probably be my two top ones.
Yeah, I don't really like hip hop or rap. That would not be a genre that I would pick, but I don't know if NF really fits into that
Yeah,
per
I can say NF
se. Yeah.
because I don't really love rap either, but I think I concluded why I don't like rap normally. It's because it's normally so vulgar.
Yeah.
But NF is just clean rap, and I like that. I concluded it, but it's also some music, like singing in it too.
Yes, I was gonna say he
And a lot
doesn't
of the
just
time,
rap. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of times it's like his instrumental stuff is really cool, and I'm a sucker for cool instrumental music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep, he's on one of my playlists, so I know.
Yep.
I think he's a little underrated too. He has a really good sound.
Oh, I would
and
agree.
I don't think a lot of people know who he is. So hey, give him a try.
Yes, he's great.
He is. All right. So the last question I have for you is, if you could go for a run anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Honestly, probably this is maybe so weird, but probably just like a place in New Zealand. I've just heard that New Zealand is like the most amazing place ever. So I would just love to find like a beautiful dirt path or something and go for a run in New Zealand. I just think that'd be so cool.
Yep. That's on my bucket list, New Zealand. I don't really want to go to Australia, but I don't know why, but I do want to go to New Zealand. I think it's because I love Lord of the Rings and they filmed it there. So I've always wanted to see it, but
yeah, I wouldn't mind too, though, going for a run in like Alaska too, though. I think that'd be cool. I haven't been to Alaska ever, and that'd be pretty sweet.
That would, yeah. Minus the grizzly bears.
Yeah, no, you'd have to run with some bear spray and maybe some bear bells, but.
Well, if you're brave enough to do it, go for it. Because me, no.
No, we just went to Canada a few weeks ago, and I just like made a route on my watch on Coros, and one of the passes sent me through was like smack dab to the middle of a woods. So I'm like all by myself running through the middle of a woods. It was beautiful. I loved it. But when I was running, I'm like, yep, if I got eaten by a bear right now, I would be toast.
Ooh.
Like I had no bear spray, no bear bells, nothing.
Oh, that's scary. Well, props to you. You came out, survived.
I made it.
You're done. All right. Well, Abby, I am so thankful that you joined me today. I really firmly feel that listening to this podcast is going to help somebody. I know that that's why you're here to share your story. And at my church, my pastor often says, your test is your testimony. And I think that is what you have with this experience. You're able to take some of the darkest moments of your life and use them for good in other people's and change the world to be better. So I just really want to thank you for being vulnerable and transparent and willing to talk about these things because, like you said, somebody needs to, because nobody is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, my goal is just to help anyone not go through what I went through.
Right.
Just God has a plan through all of it, but yep, it was really hard. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for joining me. And I look forward to seeing the successes you have yet to come, because you're on a great upward trajectory and it's only good things from here.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Did my eating disorder take so many things away from me? Yes. Yes, it did. But it made me realize how deeply I needed help and how important that people and relationships in my life are. It took a long time, but I have been able to become a full, happy, and healthy version of myself again. If you are struggling with an eating disorder, remember that the most important thing you can do is work on becoming a little healthier each and every day, and eventually you will start seeing change. It will be hard, you will cry, you will be mad, and you'll be frustrated, but it'll all be worth it in the end. Going through an eating disorder is absolutely awful, and even after you recover, you can feel lonely, depressed, and worthless. But that is not true. You are so much more than your past. You are loved, you are worth it, and you are important. The new Abby is a whole different person. Yes, I may not be as fast, but I am so much more than a runner now. God used all this to show me that my identity is not just in running. Yes, I love to run, but it doesn't define me. I am so much stronger and happier now, and I have so many immense blessings in my life. I'm a child of God, a friend, a daughter, a teammate. It has taken so long to get here, but I finally feel as if I am not Abby the runner. I am just Abby with a side of running.
If you or anyone you care about is struggling with an eating disorder, please reach out and get the help you need. Talk to a parent, a trusted friend, teammate, coach, doctor, or anyone who can point you in the right direction to begin your journey back to physical and mental health. You can also find resources through the National Eating Disorders Association website. You deserve to be the best version of yourself you can be, for now and the future.